In the other attachment situations where parents don't have that kind of capacity to be very present in their own skin and present in their own relationships, what happens is children will pick up, in the case of avoidant attachment, a feeling like there is no internal intention of my caregiver to know me. Some children then experience that there's no one to know. And there's this deep sense of emptiness. And what happens is, in those children grown into adolescents and then into adults that I work with, what I see is that the way they look at the world is as if the world were only one aspect, the physical aspect, that which is touchable, measurable, weighable. And those people just see reality as purely on the physical plane of existence, this physical aspect of reality. So if you have a plane of reality, one side of that plane is physical. Of course the physical world is real. But another side that's equally real is the mental side, the subjective internal sea that fills us with feelings and thoughts and hopes and dreams, impulses, desires, longings. In the group of avoidantly attached kids, there's this amazing blindness to the sea inside. And this way of understanding it through the initial mirror neuron system interaction is that they don't have any experience that their caregivers saw that world, so that world is not created inside of themselves. Most people are doing the best they can. Not everyone, but most people do the best they can. And when you bring that positive regard, then even a parent who's abusive to a child can be understood with empathy and compassion. So that many parents who themselves are providing the terrifying experiences that lead to disorganized attachment have themselves experienced all sorts of trauma and loss. And if we just look at an example, let's say a child is asserting herself of not wanting to have her father brush her teeth, let's say. And the father himself was the unfavored child and was beaten as a child when his siblings weren't. And he gets an experience now as a father where the child says, "You're not going to brush my teeth, only mommy's going to brush my teeth." And he says, "No, I'm going to brush your teeth." When the child says, no, it's mommy, a couple of things are going to start happening. The kind of memory that's embedded in our nervous system that isn't woven into a narrative of who we are. So in this guy's case, the feeling of abandonment by parents because they favor the other siblings, the feeling of terror of people coming after you to beat you in general, but especially when they're supposed to be protecting you. All that kind of betrayal, humiliation, abandonment, that can be embedded in what's called implicit memory. It's the emotional, perceptual, bodily memory, sometimes behavioral memory. It does what's called priming the brain for readiness to act. So at this moment, when his 2-year-old daughter is saying, "Mommy's going to brush my teeth, not you," this father's brain, if it has unresolved trauma, which in this case we're describing, the implicit memories will become activated. Now at that moment, he could go down a couple of routes. One is purely reactive, which he feels humiliated by his own daughter. "I should be a competent father, let me brush your teeth." She goes, no, you don't know how to do it. I can do it. So that sense of incompetence as a father brings up humiliation that then resonates with the humiliation from his own childhood. So it can trigger that directly like that. The mirror neuron system of the father can also pick up the anger of the daughter, because it goes both ways. So the father's mirror neurons are soaking in like a sponge the daughter's anger. "You can't brush my teeth," and she's showing this anger. That's going to trigger in a mirror neuron way his own anger. So now he's got humiliation, abandonment, betrayal. The daughter gets more and more angry at him for his insisting, and maybe he grabs a toothbrush and tries to start brushing her teeth, and maybe she bites his hand, or who knows what's going to happen there. And it can go extremely quickly from a father saying to his daughter, "You need to brush your teeth," to within 10 seconds, a father out of control. And the out of control are all these activations of implicit memory, all these mirror neurons soaking in of present emotional resonance with the daughter. And then because he has a history of disorganized attachment, this father, if he hasn't worked it through in therapy, he will be prone to the low road. Now, once the low road starts to happen, of course, with all this implicit subcortical memory being activated at that moment, all the subcortical resonance of the mirror neuron system happening at that moment, it shuts off prefrontal functioning, and that what it's going to happen is he is going to be letting loose an evolutionary onslaught of, in one case, if he collapses in hopelessness, he may just start crying and fall down on the floor and scream. He may get fearful and just run away. But even as likely is he'll get angry and hit his daughter. That he'll be so enraged at the assault on his sense of self, the cortex is offline, that he will become not only verbally abusive, but potentially emotionally and physically abusive to her. Now, in people with ambivalent attachment histories, what you see there is if I'm feeling hungry and my internal state is hunger, and I cry out of hunger, and you're my mom, and you see that I'm hungry, but you yourself have a very anxious, ambivalent history, and you really doubt your capacity as a mom. So you come to me seeing I'm hungry, really wanting to feed me, but being terrified that you're not going to be able to do it, and nervous and concerned and doubting your ability, and you come with all this anxiety inside of you that I'm just hungry, but now you're feeling anxious. So my mirror neurons, which probably should be called, sponge neurons is really what it is. I'm not really going to so much mirror you as sponge in, just soak in your internal state. So I sponge in what's going on in you. I'm hungry, but now since you're feeling anxious, I'm feeling anxious. There's no reason for me to have your anxiety, but because you have unresolved issues, you have leftover garbage, I pick them up. My sense of self then becomes very confused. All I know is, as a 2-month-old, 3-month-old, year-old kid, is I'm hungry. But now hunger gets neurologically connected to anxiety and uncertainty for no reason except from our interaction. So there's where the mirror neurons can make my internal sense of self confused. In the avoidantly attached kid, it's kind of disconnected. In the ambivalently attached kid, it's confusion.